I installed this unit on a 23-foot Avalon Tri-toon. My main reason was to have the ability to drop anchor in the American River, ca. in about a 3-knot current, without having to leave the helm. This unit coupled with a 30 pounds river anchor fits that need perfectly. The only drawback is when pulling the anchor up, the unit will not allow the anchor line to spool evenly. You have to manually move the line back and forth while holding the anchor up button. This prevents me from pulling the anchor up while at the helm. This issue is not a deal breaker but more of a nuisance. I've owned another brand anchor winch for 10 years. But after I purchased this Minn Kota DH40 deckhand along with its remote switch that I mounted at my console, I wish I had purchased it 10 years ago instead. I have a 30-pound river anchor and this winch handles it with ease. It's fast up and down and it looks good on my boat. I installed the Minn Kota DeckHand 40 on my Tracker Pro Guide V175 with remote switch and 30 pounds anchor. This gives me an extra option over the position, anchor, lock I have with my trolling motor and a ProNav setup. The ProNav is great but if you really want to hold a position in wind and waves you need a real anchor. I have a bad shoulder so I needed something that would deploy and retrieve at a touch of a button. The installation was challenging but not the fault of the winch itself. The deck at the bow of my boat has limited room and I had to build a platform for the winch. This required me to move my navigation light and remove a cup holder and tool caddy, never use them anyway. Since removing these items from the deck left large holes I added an aluminum plate under the deck for added strength. Otherwise, the winch would have just been mounted to marine-grade plywood and I wasn't sure the deck would hold up to the repeated stress. I found it easier to remove the cover and motor assembly from the frame for the install. This required unplugging the wires for the load sensing switch and the motor. I removed the motor from the unit which can be done by removing a C-clip and carefully rotating the motor assembly out of the unit. Just be sure not to lose the spring and plastic block at the end of the motor shaft. These parts act as part of the load sensing mechanism in conjunction with the switch. After the removal of the cover and motor you will have complete access to the mounting plate and holes for drilling and mounting the plate. Reassembly was quite easy. The connectors on the circuit board are marked M+ and M for proper orientation of the motor wires. The switch wires can be put on either way. The hardest part was getting the motor positioned properly to slide back into the frame. After the motor is in place you can reinstall the spring, block, and C-clip. Reattach the wires and cover and you are good to go. The main electrical connection wires are quite short.